Hello and welcome to another full moon run through things you can do in your homeschool to observe the worm moon and moon phases. Now, I'm going to go over the books that we use. I'm also going to go over the fact that this time we have a lunar eclipse, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, this year we are not watching that lunar eclipse. It happens at 11 o'clock Central Time, and we will all be sleeping, myself included. So we will be having that on kind of in the background while we go about our lesson, and maybe watching it kind of in the background while we hang out on Saturday, or we'll just wait until Monday when we come back to doing our classes and lessons. Now, the biggest thing that we made sure to touch on, I think it was last month we talked about it, because we were doing the moon phases with the Oreos, and Mags brought up the question of like, well, what happens, I saw something about the earth moving in front of the sun, and so we talked about eclipses a little early, but I encourage you to bring eclipses and how they work and what happens, and maybe watch a video or two on it. Maybe try the flashlight trick with the balls. If you've had different size balls, try the flashlight trick to show them what happens. You can make it fun even if you can't watch it. If you are in the Western Hemisphere, if you are here, no, not Western Hemisphere. Yes, I think so. I think it's visible in the Western Hemisphere. I think that's here. Anyway, in the US, we should be able to see it with no problem anyway. If you are not in the US and you won't be able to see it, then I encourage you to look up a video like we are going to do, because it will be way too late, and bring that into your homeschooling lesson. Now, after I've just rattled all of that off, the biggest takeaway for the worm moon is to think about how close to the spring equinox it is. In plain living terms, this is when we are starting our plants. This is when we are watching the signs to see where the moon is, to make sure that we're going to plant the right thing at the right time. I do talk about plain folk living a little bit more over on my Patreon and a little bit on my TikTok. You can find all this information in Foxfire books if you want to know more, or just wait and I'll come out with some more stuff on it, either one. So we will be looking at adding that aspect for my older girls into this spring equinox, to this worm moon, as part of their science and culture, just so that we can keep some practices alive, Now, for the little ones, I don't know where y'all are. We had a huge blizzard, and then it hit 60 degrees. Thank you, Wisconsin, for being, as usual, very unpredictable at this time of year. And so right now it's 60 degrees. Most things are thawing, if not fully thawed. We've had a couple of really warm days. And we will be cleaning up the yard. We're going to talk about why it's important to leave things to compost. And we will be looking underneath any leftover leaf pile or underneath logs to see other critters, not just worms. I'm pretty sure we still got a couple feet of frozen ground, and if it is starting to thaw now, then we're lucky, and if it ain't, well, we'll go digging for worms in another week or two. The books that we're going to pick up right now, we did something like this. We did an educational, big picture worms. I liked this version over the smaller book, even though it's a little bit easier for little hands to pick up the smaller book. I like how this is all set up. You see how it has the little mini infographics? My ADHD and autistic kiddo ate this up, because it was perfect portions, and she could go through and look, and she learned something new every time she looked at the page. So she's just like, I'm gonna go learn more about worms. I'm like, go for it, baby. We love that independent learning. The other thing, it was a shorter read. It was a simpler read. Mags wanted to read it to me, which was great, but it's called Wonderful Worms. And this was suggested to me through the reading group. So I will have a big shout out for that. What is it called? Wilder Child. They have some really good pointers if you're wanting to follow a little bit more of the pagan witchy aspect of the moon phases. Then I would highly suggest them. They do have a waiting list, and while I supported it, I love it so much, I realized that I was already doing most of what was in that already. So if you are struggling to think of ways to bring the moon and moon phases and things like that in a more spiritual aspect to your homeschooling, then I highly, highly, highly suggest them. Otherwise, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Okay, that was in no way sponsored, but I wanted to make sure that they were referenced because I really appreciate how they have everything set up on a spiritual level. You know what I mean? Anyway, back to this book, Wonderful Worms. The story is great, and the illustrations are very easy to understand. In the back, there are some simple facts you can just kind of rattle off. Now, we kind of made these and read these as jokes. Are there any other types of worms? And then I interviewed her, and Max would read off the paragraph, and she thought it was great. But, you'll be able to find ways to integrate those facts into what you're doing. You could make it into, like, a trivia game, like, Worm Jeopardy. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. I might do that. You can do it as we're going to interview some worms and then read off the facts that way. There are ways you can make it fun. I promise. And then because we bring little Boo into it, my 3-year-old, Max wanted to read this one called Worm Weather into our little, our story time this morning, and I'm absolutely all for it. And we went through. It's very, very simple. So there's like, I don't know how well you can see this, but it's like 2 to 3 words on each page, and it's very easy to break down. The animations, the illustrations are beautiful, and we all got to wiggle like a worm. Now, for a little bit older, so if your kid can already read pretty independently, and they feel confident with reading past, a couple sentences on a page, I actually found the Libby Wembley. I believe I talked about her already in another video, but essentially it has like little, they're not full on, well, they are considered chapters, but they're only a couple pages. Very simple. The plot line is adorable, and it's easy to just sit down and read it in about 30. If you are reading it to them, it takes about 15, maybe 20 minutes at the most. If they are reading it, I think it took Max about 30-ish minutes because she stopped and went back and read again and things like that. So it is considered an early reader. It's like one of your first chapter books ever, and the story is very sweet. So I strongly suggest the Libby Wembley series. Let's see. Just remember that as you move forward, the moon phase is going from Virgo into Libra. As far as everything is concerned, the transition of the signs during the moon phases, so the 3 days usually if there's a full moon, I would give yourself some grace, especially with the eclipse. There's going to be a little bit more chaotic energy. The peace and the go get it done headspace you might be in is going to be a little racked. It's okay. Oh, I got a wee one. She's trying to come see me. But just give yourself a little extra grace. People are out riding motorcycles, kiddo. And this is the reality of being a content creator when you're a parent. Kids interrupt. Kids are part of all of it. But anyway, so okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go before she gets any more crazy. And remember that if you want these before the actual full moon, everything is over. on my Patreon. $5 a month for the granny witching, $3 a month for homeschooling support and keeping everything together. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Everything will be listed down below for you to look at. And y'all be blessed. I'll talk to you soon.